Recently I've been asking myself what is going on with AI. Well,
The industry is changing. This feels like a train that now that we're on it,
it is still a mystery how our stupid ass monkey brain was able to create an intelligence that is able to do every task a human can possibly do in a faster and efficient way. We were convinced that AI will never be able to think creatively, which is partially true, but we somehow managed to make art one of the first things being artificially created. And these last months, AI has been taking giant steps in almost every industry, and the sheer amount of AI news is batshit insane. The people who probably are in the hotspot right now are the artists. AI literally became their biggest threat just because of some dude who wanted to generate some hentai art by himself. But how did AI become a thing only now? And how did it grow so popular in just a couple of months? Most of us probably didn't know a thing about AI less than 1 year ago, especially about AI art. I randomly found out about this when I was just scrolling on Twitter for some, art, and eventually noticed that some of these drawings were a little bit off, like the hands were oddly drawn, their hairs were unnatural, everything seemed not human. I have then came to the conclusion that the artist himself used his own drawings to generate the equivalent AI version. So I said to myself, I'm gonna try this shit out. What the fuck? AI content, especially art, is fucking everywhere, and the way it probably got popular was the public release of text-to-image AI models, such as the famous Midjourney and dall-e. It was at that moment that people really started generating funny memes that went around all the internet, and dall-e became the internet's favorite meme generator for how hilarious some of these drawings the AI would output. Couple months forward, Stable Diffusion was released, and alongside of it, this online art generator began to spread and initiated a new wave of shitpost memes. And again, things really started to degenerate. People fell in love with the potential of AI and began merging all of different models, creating more and more sophisticated versions that output crazily realistic images. But there is one aspect about AI art that sparked some really big controversies a couple months ago, and that is AI anime. Now, a lot of people have already covered this topic that involves Corridor. I mean, you probably know them. But the same technology that Corridor have used has already been improved significantly by this model that helps into the polishment, the tracking, the consistency and the flickering of the video. And lastly, to even make actual hands. And this really goes to show how exponential the growth of AI really is. And by the time I upload this video, an insane amount of AI videos might have been already released. Corridor's anime video got attention by the whole internet because of some of the things they said have infuriated the art community, such as democratizing animation, which doesn't seem to be evil at first sight, since their first intention was to show to everyone that any person can now express their own creativity without going through any extra complicated process. But people argued that this will be unethical towards those animators that have dedicated their whole life into cultivating their skills and devaluing their work by artificially generating a copycat of an animator's work is just morally wrong. However, what Corridor's team has done wasn't a complete copy-paste of what the AI just randomly output. In fact, the initial version they got from the AI was actually incredibly shit. And we cannot disagree on the fact that AI still cannot do many of the things that a human is able to do. They can't think like a human will do yet, and many suspect that it is actually impossible for it to happen, and they won't be substituting human creativity anytime soon. Corridor has been making for years video that experimented with new technologies, and the same goes for this video using AI, because even in this case, they have to write a script, voice act, normally act, turn themselves into an AI image, setting up this magnificent background with a fuck ton of angles, adding their amazing VFX, and many more. But all of these elements are a form of art itself that had been polished throughout the years of experience. And with each one of them combined, they obtained this incredible flickery ass video which they had to fix, but jokes aside, yeah, it was actually pretty decent. One of the biggest critics they have been accused of was stealing art, which is completely true if you look at it from one perspective, since they used Bloodlust Vampire, an anime from Madhouse, as a training model for stable diffusion. But people don't really look that deep into things, because we need to divide the concept of reutilizing a video without adding anything creatively new, and one that uses its own creativity to make a completely different work of art, which in Corridor's case, they did not just take what the AI gave them and upload it on YouTube. And this is funny to think, because if this was the case, half of viewing channels, including AniTubers, would instantly get copyright strike just by using clips from any anime without permission. Corridor's team wasn't at all the first group of people to implement use of AI in animation. Toei Animation has actually started to test AI already a couple of years ago to speed up animation production and cope with labor shortages. They experimented the AI in this short film, where the main objective was to generate background images and accelerating the coloring of the characters. To do so, they just took pictures of IRL places and converted them to an anime-styled render, and then get an actual artist to retouch the image by adding this cyberpunk-styled effect. Recently, even Wit Studio did something similar with AI, because they, including the whole animation industry, are suffering of the same problem. And they showed a similar approach to this method, which was getting an initial layout, adding this AI filter, and lastly an artist will revise the final work. But honestly, if we're going to use the help of an actual person, why don't we directly hire an artist? Well, despite a human is still far better than whatever this AI generated background, we can't deny that the process and amount of time put into this was way less than it normally takes. Therefore, the use of AI can really relieve a ton of stress and work pressure that the animators are enduring all the time. But there is a clear pattern that the animation industry is going through, which I previously mentioned in my last video. And that is the fact that in the last decades, the anime industry is tending to make more and more anime. But alongside the animators and every worker related to the animation process has actually been decreasing. And there are many reasons behind this, such as the unethical workplace, low wages, and crazy work shifts. And many of these animators just lose interest on joining the industry and rather treat this job as a side passion. Yet, animation is not the only field where AI is having a big influence in. AI writing is also becoming a thing, and really recently, some Shonen Jump editors have developed Comic Copilot, a tool that is supposed to help people in manga writing. And something that really stood out in the last months are AI-generated voices. From funny AI president memes to any kind of skit involving the use of AI, it is getting so much attention and developing into something really worrisome for voice actors and singers as well. Some voice actors also started to call out those websites who use their AI voice without their consent, and this sparked a wave of tweets regarding this situation. But what's really interesting is that the reality is much different in the eastern side of the world, because people there seem to really love the tools that AI is offering. If you go on Bilibili, a Chinese version of YouTube, and type AI, you'd be surprised to find an insane amount of thirsty, down-bad AI art and exorbitant quantity of AI covers involving anime characters singing weeb songs. But the level of quality and dedication of these cover songs is surprisingly good and extremely close to the original voice. And if you're curious, I'll leave some of them in the description. So while I was editing, I just randomly found out that, oh shit, that there are some AI generated ASMR videos going around, and that shit is kind of weird. What the fuck? The biggest problem about AI, in my opinion, is that I literally cannot find hand-drawn anime art anymore. Like, infinitely scrolling through all these artists used to be something I like to spend my time on. It was incredibly interesting seeing how certain pieces of art were made that I will never be able to recreate. And what was even better was spamming my friends loads of R18 art and tell them to slap that meat. But now, the only things I find are trash AI dancing TikToks and attractive AI generated Asian cosplayers, and yeah, you're right, even cosplayers may be on the way of losing their job. And every time I'm looking for actual art, I literally have to zoom on the hands to check if this shit is AI generated. But now you can even draw hands however the fuck you want, so that also is not an option. Luckily though, Pixiv has actually made a completely different section for AI art itself. However, on Twitter it's the same shit as thing, and the only way to make sure is checking the tags, the comments, or just made actual art for fuck's sake. It is truly sad to see the art community in this state, not necessarily because there is AI art, since AI is actually fun to play with, but it is more the fact that many of these people who generate AI art are capitalizing on it by selling their art for actual money through patrons and subscription sites. And I wouldn't blame them, since that is something that anyone would do, because it is actual easy money. But it just feels wrong. Not only because the AI itself is only able to output a similar but transformed version of whatever it was being trained on, but also because you will be indirectly taking advantage on some of those artists' work used to train the AI. And this may sound hypocritical to what I previously said, but even if some people still do some tweaks to improve their AI generated work, making it considerable as its own art, it still lacks that human touch on the entire work to completely consider it as an original artwork. And the same thing applies to anything that is AI generated, from animation, voice acting, music, and script writing. There is just something that doesn't make AI feel genuine. Whenever I see AI art, I don't feel the same level of satisfaction or appreciation for this type of work. I just can't feel the commitment and the amount of time that the artist has gone through. I don't feel those stinky, sweaty ass hands that have been drawing for hours and hours just to show any weeb like me a beautiful pair of thigh highs that they have personally drawn. This is pretty similar to reading manga scans versus reading it on paper, and I don't think anyone will be disagreeing with me here. Grabbing a physical manga to act like an intellectual person, turning the pages and smelling the garbage scent of paper on each page, just elevates the experience, the appreciation, and adds value to the work. What people are doing with Stable Diffusion, ControlNet, or every other AI tool used in content creation is not necessarily harmful towards the artist. The only thing that AI really needs right now is regulation. And that is exactly what some organizations are presumably trying to do to preserve the future generation of artists. So now, what is the solution for all of this? First of all, the evolution of AI is just inevitable. It isn't something that we can control if not by the people who are actually demanding it, since we live in a capitalistic society. But historically speaking, innovative inventions have always caused chaos in the populace, both in the first and second industrial revolution. People had always feared to be substituted by machines and having their job taken by them, and this resulted in many protests that also involved the harsh conditions in which the workers were under pressure. But eventually, we always managed to create new jobs and transition those people to the newer jobs, even if that means forcing them to do so. But will the same happen with AI technology? Well, I have no fucking clue, but what I can say is that AI shouldn't be stigmatized as something evil. It's still an incredible technology that only fiction has ever portrayed, and it still does have many good points. Everyone can benefit from AI. The only problem is to coexist with AI, meaning to create a sense of balance between the help that AI can provide and your abilities as a person. And even if AI can solve the overworking issue by replacing the shortages of workers, this wouldn't incentivize a new generation of animators. And at the end of the day, what industries really care about is profit. And to avoid this, animators should get higher pays to bring in new enthusiasts to keep this industry alive in the most genuine state possible. Right now, people have very different opinions about AI just in general. Some of them hate the ethics around it, others love it because it expands the boundaries of what is possible with art, and then there are those who stand in the middle and see it as a useful tool to enhance human creativity. And as AI technology advances, it is likely that this debate continues. But one undeniable thing is that AI is actually amazing and scary at the same time. What AI's controversy has been going through is not just about its ethics, but also about legality and plagiarism, and people are really concerned. A lot of people think that training the AI on public domain stuff is going to be beneficial for both the artists and the people who want to keep having fun with it. And I believe that'd be actually great, and at the same time, animation companies can use their work and feed it to their AI so that it can help them during the production of a new show. While in the case of AI voices or music, well, this is a very complicated topic, and I don't want to say some random bullshit. Regulation on AI is pretty much needed if we want to satisfy both spheres of opinion, but restricting AI way too much would hurt the technological advancement of society, and hopefully it won't be too restrictive, because there's just so much that AI can do to change our lives in a positive way. And from my personal standpoint, I think that AI is a barely new unexplored technology that can really push the boundaries of human knowledge. So in terms of art, this raises some questions for the future. Will AI ever be able to be truly creative? And will AI-generated media change the way we think about human creativity and expression? Well, I'll leave these questions for you to comment down below. And please don't kill me for all the shit that I said in this video, because this video was AI-generated. Wait, you guys are still watching? What the fuck?